Hey, we did it. The steal attempt has been successfully completed. And, as somebody watching these games, watching football this year, looking at it, trying to figure it all out, I can talk about these things that I hope we do, these things that I believe we can do based off what I'm seeing from another team. We can spend all this time talking about it. But it's another thing for the team to actually go out there and execute on it. And today they did. They went up against this Chargers team that is in a somewhat vulnerable state right now, and they took full advantage of their vulnerabilities. And overall, I would say they did a really good job of it. Honestly, you look at this game, it was very close to a complete game where pretty much everyone did their job fine. There were only a couple minor pain points throughout the game, which, again, those pain points weren't even that bad. And you're coming out of there feeling like this team has maybe a little bit of a ceiling above where you thought. It's at least possible. So it felt good to see the team take care of business in the way that I was hoping. Again, this was a matchup I looked at and I went, with all the problems the Chargers have, and they didn't have all the problems I thought they would exactly, but you looked at the team that has all the issues that they're having, and as a Seahawks fan, you have to go, you know what? If I think this team is any good at all, like the 3-3 record has at least some degree of truth to it, if I give any credibility to that, then I gotta say I think they win this game, and they did. So it feels like something could be happening here. This is not a very good conference. This division is not as good as some people thought. I gotta say, not only are we maybe a little better than I thought we were gonna be, or at least better in different ways than I was expecting. If the rest of the division's gonna not produce a clear champion, and if the conference is gonna be so weak at the top, I mean, this is why you don't throw away a season. This is why I don't care for tanking. This is why no matter how bad things look and no matter how much you might want that number one overall pick, don't throw away a season for it. All right? Having a team that's better than you thought it would be is largely a good problem to have, especially when you're building towards some future goal. And that's what we're doing here. I mean, this year's great, but we're also trying to establish future dominance. So, hey, good news. It's working. And with what's going on in Denver, which we'll probably talk about tonight, we might end up getting that top pick anyway, so don't even worry. So, Seahawks offense, I looked at a Chargers defense that had vulnerabilities, and I think we did a really good job exploiting it. And they did it without all their soldiers because I'll tell you, when Metcalf went down, and by the way, the things I'm hearing about the Metcalf injury right now are not good. Let me just say that here. Um, Not good. So I would expect to not have him for a while, and maybe not have him back again this year. But we're going to cross our fingers. I've heard bad things though. Once he went out, and then you had Eskridge getting what looked like a concussion, and Lockett was at that point not having a big impact. I think he had like one catch at halftime, and looked like the hamstring was bugging him. I was trying to figure out how we were going to do anything in this game on offense. I was like, okay, number one receiver out, number two receiver hamstrung, clearly not himself. Number three receiver is uh, has, I don't know, severe concussion syndromes or concussion PTSD, if that's a thing. Because I'm sure every time his head gets hit ever, it's just going to trigger it for him because he suffered apparently such a devastating one. But anyway, once we got to that point where Metcalf, Lockett, and Eskridge all looked like they were done, and Eskridge looked kind of not somebody you wanted to utilize even if he was healthy, I just kind of asked myself, like, how is this offense going to generate anything with all these receivers out? Okay, the Chargers, like, they lose J.C. Jackson, right? But it's how are you going to take advantage of their now questionable secondary if, and I know J.C. Jackson was the most questionable player of all, but he's been great in the past, so of course you expect a certain level of bounce back from him at this point in the season when he's playing so badly. But I I was just trying to figure out how we would move the ball, and we really found a way. Good win. That's hey. When we signed him, I was pretty ambivalent on it. I was like, okay, he's a good player. I think he could be good for us. I like it, but at the same time, I wonder, would you rather just see what Bo Melton can do? Well, this is part of the reason why you do that. You have a veteran receiver who's just ready to go in there and ready to at least give you something in the event of an emergency. And right now, it looks like we're in emergency land. Could be very difficult at receiver for the rest of the year. We'll see. But they found ways to move the ball with him. Disley had a good game. Colby had the one big play in the flat. They just kind of grinded out a respectable offensive performance without their receivers. And I think we all know that's not easy to do. A big part of it was the ground game kept building up momentum as the game went along. Like Ken Walker, early in the game, they were getting to him a little bit, I think, in the backfield. But as this game went on, he really started picking it up. And, of course, at the end of the game, just putting it away with a 74-yarder, which, awesome. Incredible stuff. Can't say enough about Ken Walker. I'm probably going to have to make another video about him this week just to talk about it. But his ability to continue to productively grind for yards on the ground after we lose our best receivers, and the Chargers defense is thinking, crowd the box and make these running backs beat us, and he did. So Ken Walker, probably the best running back in the league this week. I can't imagine any running back's going to have better numbers than him. And we are witnessing something special start to develop here, maybe. There's no question that he's got to stay healthy. There's no question that he's got to develop as a third down back a little bit. But we have a special player here. His burst, his cut, his vision, his power. He has power, his speed. There's a lot of stuff going on with Walker that I didn't know that we were going to get fully based off college. But it seems like he's capable of being that complete package as a running back. But he's off to a phenomenal start just with his pure running ability right now. And look, when you play in a game where you run the ball for more yards than you pass, that's something you don't see terribly often in the NFL these days with most teams. Like Geno Smith, I know he's got a little bit of mobility, but a Geno Smith team is not necessarily a team you would expect to have more rushing than passing yards in a game. But that's a testament to this mostly young offensive line. They lost a guy today. Phil Haynes got concussed and taken out of the game, didn't come back. That put Curhan in. And obviously, look, hey, Curhan, he can run block all day, so that's not a big loss when it comes to that. But generally speaking, you have to say that in run blocking, these guys are really starting to develop something. And let me also just say that the game-clinching run was on a pitch play, an outside run, outside pitch. So let's see some more of that. Seems like good things happen when you start attacking the outsides. That's not just for the Seahawks, that's like for the whole NFL. But, hey, this is kind of the Seahawks offense, I thought, just better than I thought it was going to be. But it looks the same. Geno's efficient. Geno was very efficient today. The interception, by the way, not his fault. That was a bullcrap, no call. Offensive line plays good, and the running game carries. But it's more explosive than I thought. So, yeah, this offense, I thought they could do this against the Chargers' weak defense. But to see it was still really nice. And, look, this defense, if you really break it down, they gave up one drive in this game, really. They gave up the one drive. You're going to give up stuff playing against Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler and Mike Williams and some of these guys. Gerald Everett had a pretty good game too. That's just cost of doing business. So that one drive, you take out another drive because it was the stupid Eskridge fumble. And by the way, today was tailor-made to be a D. Eskridge game, and after Metcalf went out and Lockett wasn't himself, and we really needed somebody to do something with the receiver spot. This is like the dream spot for D. Eskridge to come in and save the day, and no, not even close. I think he would have gotten benched for Bo Melton if Bo Melton was active. But anyway, so you had the fumble lead to the touchdown for the Chargers. Not really on the defense there to me. And then you had the garbage time drive for the last touchdown, which, hey, if they want to keep running plays short of the goal line for some reason, when they're not using their timeouts and they have limited time left, like, go ahead, be my guest, please. Have all the 6-minute drives you want in the fourth quarter when you're down 3 touchdowns. Please. I'll even give you a 2-point conversion at the end. But yeah, other than that one drive they gave up, the defense played really well. They got good pressure on Herbert. They hit him a lot. He was actually doing a great job getting the ball out of his hands quickly on some of those pressures. So we had 3 sacks, but it honestly felt like it could have been more. We had the tackle for a loss on the batted pass from Herbert, which I doesn't believe count as a sack, but basically is. We stopped the run well pretty much the whole game. Herbert had a couple scrambles, and other than that, it seems like we've found something by. Seems to me, again, I'm gonna have to review some of the tape here. Seems to me like you're getting away from those 2-man fronts against teams that can run, teams that are physically capable of running. Like it seems to me like we've gone to those 2 down lineman fronts only in situations where the other team is going to pass. Either they're down too much at the end of the game or they're in empty. Excuse me. Dry mouth a little bit today, by the way. But yeah, the defense. Ryan Neal played an awesome game. I thought Ryan Neal that was some of the best football I've ever seen him play. The interception's great, but overall, I thought he was getting his hand on the ball a lot, playing good in coverage, and that was one of the best games I've ever seen Ryan Neal play. Good for him. Nwosu, I know he didn't get his sack, but he was constantly back there looking around for it, trying to get pressure. I think he got a lot of pressure on Herbert today. We'll see how it comes out after the week's over. Taylor with one of the coolest plays you'll ever see, basically ripping the ball out of Herbert's hands. Probably should have scored a touchdown on the play, honestly, but I got no problem with a defensive player securing the football. Do not underestimate the value of just making sure your offense gets a possession. And there was generally good pressure. And Tariq, I know Tariq gave up a touchdown, first touchdown of his career, heartbreaking. But I thought he played fine overall. I thought Mike Jackson, he dropped a easy interception, which was unfortunate, but I thought Michael played fine. Linebackers didn't notice anything terrible from Brooks or Barton. Maybe they bit a little too hard on a play action at one point. I think that Brooks missed an open field tackle on Eckler that gave up like an extra 15 yards. Little things here and there, but yeah, you go down the list on this defense and you're like, okay, 23 points, but we know that's a little bit of a mirage. Chargers put together one really good drive that whole game. Other than that, we actually got a couple turnovers. We got pressure on passing downs, which, always more important than just getting pressure in general. And the only thing, really, is just we've got a really inconsistent special teams unit. I think that's about as far as you can go for the negatives of any significance coming out of this game. I don't know what the heck Joey Blunt was doing on that punt return. That was something that really should not happen pretty much ever. Very boneheaded. But he's been a player since he got here, so okay. Everything else was clean. I mean, we made our field goals. Jason Myers legitimately the best part of our special teams through 7 games. I thought it was going to be the other way around. But seems like every week we have a really bad play on special teams. We had the blocked punts. And now in this one, we had the roughing the punt returner really, in a really silly situation when it didn't need to happen. But that's really it, guys. Like, maybe you would say that a guy like a Noah Fant should have done more in this game after Metcalf and Metcalf went down and Eskridge got what looked like a concussion and Lockett wasn't himself. Maybe you would say that, like, hey, Noah Fant, come on, we need you. We need you to be a guy right now. And one catch for 7 yards. And he picked up a penalty blocking too, so not a really good game for Fant. Big ups to Tyler Lockett, though, for being a man. And there was a point in this game where it felt like he took it over. Really felt like Lockett took the game over there in like the third quarter, fourth a little bit as well. And physically, you know that he's not all the way there. Keenan Allen playing on a hamstring injury was basically invisible that whole game. He got thrown at twice, 11 yards, basically no impact. So Lockett's fighting through things that are probably not quite as bad, but they're similar. And Lockett was not going to be denied his production. It took a while. It took a while for him to really get going, but once he did, there was a point in this game where it just felt like he was taking over as a receiver, which is not easy. So big ups to him. And other than that, like, life is just pretty good, right? Like things are just going exactly the way you would want them to go right now. Like Gino played a solid game, the interception. I'm really just going to take that off the board for him. To me, that was the refs were terrible all game for the Chargers as far as I'm concerned, but that absolutely should have been defensive pass interference. And other than that, he was just generally efficient, and he was efficient and effective without his best players, best targets at their peak abilities. Like Metcalf leaves early, Lockett fighting through stuff, and he still finds a way to be an efficient and effective quarterback, only taking 2 sacks. The 2 to 3 sack experience seems like that's about where Gino usually lives. And you let the running game do what they're going to do, and it seems like they're on their way. We're going to have to see about some of these injuries, by the way. I got a bad feeling about the Metcalf thing. I think Phil Haynes will be fine. So I think that was probably a pretty minor thing that happened to him that took him out. But I'm holding my breath on the Lockett stuff, Metcalf stuff, because this is going to continue to be a problem as the season goes on, because I don't think Lockett's going to get better if he continues to play on it. So we're going to hopefully get Metcalf back at some point, but I've heard scary things. I'm just going to leave it at that. That turf, man, the Chargers got hit with it too. They're not immune to it. J.C. Jackson and maybe MartyWilliams both got eaten up by the turf monster. Feels like the NFL is going to have to do something at some point about these turfs, because too many of them are just creating a lot of injuries. So wouldn't surprise me if they tried to do something about that. It was a big problem today for both teams. And yeah, there's just nothing you can really say other than the team is doing a phenomenal job right now of pretty much everything. So going forward, look, the NFC doing what it's doing, the division doing what it's doing. We got to be kind of in gear here. We got to start getting into the right gear of the goal is actually to make the playoffs. And even if we don't get there, that needs to be the goal going forward. So we got to start talking in those terms, guys. But I'm going to stream in like hour and a half. We're going to be doing some hat giveaways during the stream to celebrate me hitting 10,000. So show up for that if no other reason. And I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. And hey, life is good.